If you have not read up to chapter 1197 of One Piece, just know there will be spoilers ahead. Watch at your own discretion. Leftism. It's awesome. One Piece. It's awesome. Arsenal winning the Champions League? Probably not. But anyways, enough about the shortcomings of my favorite football team. Today we're going over the various ways that leftist politics have influenced the series of One Piece. Now, whether One Piece itself is a leftist or socialist series is still a topic of discussion, especially as of late, with leftist streamers like Hassan Abi facing backlash for calling the series socialist and saying that Luffy is a terrorist. I've also had a few videos blow up after mentioning the fact that One Piece has some serious socialist and leftist themes. Now, whether or not you believe that the series is ultimately supporting leftism or socialism, we can agree that many of the elements in the show that are represented in a pretty positive light are indeed leftist, which shouldn't come as a surprise, considering Oda has a literal image of leftist revolutionary Che Guevara in his office. Now, what even is leftism? Of course, leftism is an umbrella term under which there are many more left-wing ideologies that can each look pretty different. But the general belief that the vast majority of leftists have is that we should strive for a society with equality, both socially and economically. We should provide all possible assistance to the least financially privileged individuals, ensuring that every human has the right to have access to housing, food, clean water, healthcare, education, and other basic human needs. Leftism also tends to carry a rejection of bigotry, and very importantly, ending the oppression of the working class masses from the elite wealthy capitalist class. Overall, the general idea is that all people have the right to live comfortably, regardless of identity or financial status, and as long as what you're doing isn't hurting anyone else, leftists don't really want to mess with you. Now, the most notable and influential leftist of all time, besides me of course, was Karl Marx, who famously told the working class to fight against their oppressors by taking up arms and igniting people's revolutions. This will come into play later. Now let's take a look at some of the things in One Piece that I believe are influenced directly or partially by leftist ideology. The most obvious one is the Revolutionary Army, a faction that's clearly based off real-world leftist leaders and with ideas that are pretty similar to leftist ones. And it goes beyond just the aesthetics, such as Monkey D. Dragon having a design based off Fidel Castro, or the fact that their ship is named after the same boat that the Cuban revolutionaries used to start the communist revolution. It is now known in the series that Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, formed the group after first forming a group called the Freedom Fighters, which he formed only after leaving the Marines, because yes, Dragon was a Marine, meaning that he was part of the same organization that he now dedicates his life to bringing down. The reason Dragon left was probably because he realized that serving the Marines and serving the world government came at the expense of the poor innocent people who were being oppressed by them. After Dragon left the Marines, he felt it was necessary to take action into his own hands, so he formed the Freedom Fighters, a group of individuals meant to agitate the world government, and they were actually quite successful in igniting several protests throughout several countries, to the point where they were actually wanted by the world government. But Dragon realized something after the O'Hara incident, a genocide conducted by the world government on the people of the island of O'Hara, of which Nico Robin was from. Dragon realized that the only way to stop this oppressive, brutal force was by forming an army that can rival it. Thus he formed the Revolutionary Army, alongside Ivankov and Kuma, and inspired countless countries not to just protest, but to take up arms and fight back violently. Dragon coming to the realization that the oppressive forces in power can only be stopped by an armed people's revolution is very in line with Marxist thinking. The idea that those in power and those who oppress will not stop oppressing by mere protest alone is something that Marx talked about time after time, as he believed that revolution was inevitable and necessary for advancing society. He once said, workers of the world will eventually unite and realize that they have nothing to lose but their chains and revolt against those who oppress them. Dragon's Revolutionary Army operates under these same ideological guidelines. I'd also like to point out that Oda paints these revolutionaries and Dragon as heroes, showing that the series is at least presenting these ideas in support of them. Also, look how diverse this cast for the Revolutionary Army is. They do not discriminate, bro. This cast is woke as f***.
これはなんという幻想的な
バカの考えることは理解できないよ。
Now, of course, the Revolutionary Army is the most obvious example of the leftist influence over the One Piece story. But there's other examples as well. The Drum Island arc could be read as a warning of what happens if citizens don't have access to healthcare, as Wapol, the king of Drum Island, uses the lack of accessible healthcare against his citizens to maintain control over them. Wapol has complete control over all the doctors in Drum Island. He also has a complete monopoly over the healthcare system. He killed or captured any doctor that wouldn't beg at his feet, which left a shortage and a lack of access to healthcare for the citizens of Drum Island. This forced all the people to look for alternative options on where to get their medical treatment, and one of the only options left was the Dr. Kureha, who may attend to you, but although she can heal you physically, she is going to cripple them pockets, you know what I'm saying, because, well, private healthcare ain't cheap. But yeah, this arc could definitely be looked at as having some serious leftist messaging. I mean, it's all about what happens when all people don't have access to healthcare. The idea of universal healthcare, which is, and I don't care what anybody says, an innately leftist idea. When people can't afford to have healthcare, they end up getting sick, sometimes to the point of death, because they either don't have the money to see a doctor, or they straight up just don't have access to any sort of medical treatment. And I think the Drum Island arc does a really good job at capturing this issue. Anyway, y'all, these are just two examples of how leftist politics influence the world of One Piece, in my opinion at least. If you guys would like a more in-depth video, let me know in the comments and I'll gladly make it for y'all. Thank y'all for watching this video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace out.